For the first time in forever, Marvel's MCU looks scared of another studio. This time, they're running away from Dune. Kevin Feige may have seen enough. The box office not looking tough enough for both of them. And now it's looking like the MCU is going to pick a new premiere date for the big Avengers trilogy duo starring RDJ, maybe losing steam already at the box office. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel that continues to change hearts and minds one video at a time, simply by telling the truth with a capital T. As we dive in, click the like button and we'll explain why Marvel is now in a weakened position, trying to dodge another film that just might eat its lunch and make a bunch more money than it due to IMAX. The Walt Disney Company appears to be running scared of the Doomsday idea. Doomsday, they think, needs to get out of the way of Dune and maybe even Jumanji 2. Geeks and Gamers has this one. Look at this, folks. What a big deal. Never, ever before have you seen Marvel shut the door on a premiere date. It's not guaranteed. It is a rumor still, but it makes way too much sense to be wrong. Avengers Doomsday may change release date to December 11th for IMAX screens, says John Campea. Now, you know that sometimes Campea does and says things that we disagree with here, but I think Campea's got this one. And so, even when those who are a little bit wacky and crazy sometimes, when they get it right, we need to pat him on the back, and I think he's going to get this one right. Let's see what it has to say. Alex Gurzo, the author, Avengers Doomsday may change its release date soon, according to a new report from John Campea. Currently, Avengers Doomsday, the next big Marvel team-up movie, and the first since 2019's Avengers Endgame, is scheduled to be released on December 18th, 2026. Also coming to theaters on December 18th is Dune Part 3. And by the way, they've got all of those IMAXs locked up contractually. Avengers can't get any of them, and that's a big, big deal for the box office numbers. It's the last in Denis Villeneuve's trilogy of films adapting Frank Herbert's classic sci-fi novel. Since the announcement, many expected one of these tentpole movies to budge, reasoning that regardless of which one ruled the box office roost, they would inevitably take business away from each other. But neither has, which even triggered talk of a revival of Barbenheimer called Doomsday, and we made fun of that because that's not going to work that way. But that may change, because now that Jumanji has moved off of its December 11th release date to Christmas Day to avoid Doomsday and Dune Part 3, guess what? December 11th is now open, with no movies scheduled to release. So, would it behoove Disney to have Avengers Doomsday change its release date from the 18th to the 11th, put it in theaters a week before Dune Part 3? Well, let's talk about it right now. Jonas, if they move the movie, that's fine and dandy. They get the IMAX screens they're so hoping for. The problem is they only have 1 week of runway before Dune comes out and takes away all of the excitement, all of the buzz, and we move on to Dune and Jumanji for Christmas. So, Jonas, is this wise of Marvel, and does it represent a pivot point that we've never seen before where Marvel is running away from the competition?
If Marvel moves to December 11th, I think that's a better strategy for them. It's funny, I think between Dune and Doomsday, without knowing anything about phases 5 and 6, you would think a sequel to Avengers Endgame would be the bigger of the two properties. The Dune movies apparently are pretty great, but they're not exactly the most marketable in that way that a Happy Meal toy character can be. The quality of the film will dictate the second weekend, of course, for this. So I guess the strategy here, if Jumanji moves, and Jumanji has moved, that's good for Jumanji. And if Avengers Doomsday can have enough in it that on paper people say that it's a better movie than Dune, I think that's a better strategy to be the 1 week lead on Dune 3 than it is to try to open on the same day as Dune 3, because I don't think Doomsday was going to ever work.
But if just by virtue of the fact that suddenly Dune takes over all the big screens and therefore the higher prices, will people read that second week without those as a huge fall off and therefore a failure?
They might. Because when they lose all the IMAX in the second weekend, you're right, the percentage drop for the box office revenue will be steep.
I also wonder about the news story that was quietly circulating among many websites that Disney doesn't need those IMAX screens. They'll just go for all the other PLFs that are not IMAX for those weeks, and they'll kill Dune that way. Like, okay, sure, Jan.
Sure. You know, I think movies like Fantastic Four have done this to Marvel. They do not have the ability. Disney does not have the ability anymore to pressure theaters the way they have. Ron, we've heard stories, you know, of Disney really just pushing around companies like AMC and Regal and telling them you're going to have this many showings, even if it's a movie that's blowing everything the theaters have, like Ella McKay. That seems to have gone away this year. They don't have the bully pulpit they once had for these theaters.
Well, I mean, when you look at their slate last year, they had a couple of successes and then they had a ton of failures, especially everything in the Marvel genre. Everything in the MCU last year was a failure. Captain Falcon, the Thunderbolt, and Fantastic Flop. They all went down in flames. And there is, I just don't see any real hype for Doomsday. I think moving it a week could actually end up hurting it. If they're going to move it, I feel like they need to move it 2 or 3 weeks, maybe into the Thanksgiving slate, or maybe all the way. I don't know where they would move it to, but I think right now where it's slated to drop, it's pretty. I mean, I say doomed. It is. I'm not trying to be. It's just there's just not a lot of interest. I think Dune is going to just dominate the box office during the Christmas season, and it going up against a Marvel property where they have not drummed up the. It's not like Endgame. You know, when Endgame came out, there was 10 years of cohesive storytelling to build up to that before, and right now we don't have that.
That's true. And Marv, as we look at this, there's a really interesting dynamic happening. Sony is going to be releasing Spider-Man earlier in the year, and we are now looking at a possibility that Sony has the biggest Marvel movie of the year, and that Avengers is a distant number 2 because of the scheduling and the timing and all of these bad decisions that Disney's Marvel has made.
I honestly don't think there is a prayer in heaven that Doomsday will beat Spider-Man Brand New Day. I legitimately don't. Spider-Man Brand New Day got 1 billion views on its trailer, the first trailer to ever do that. Doomsday released like 4 different character trailers already, and nobody cared. This moving it a week is not going to offset this, because like what you guys said, all it's going to do is once Dune comes out that second weekend and it loses all the IMAX screens, it's going to plummet. Yes, it's going to have it'll have like a 70% decline the second weekend, which is a thing that Disney does not want to have egg on their face. Also, I don't care, you know, what Campia says. I can't see Disney doing this. I can't see this late in the game moving this release date. I also can't see them doing it because it shows that they blinked. It's basically they're playing chicken with Warner Brothers, and if Disney is the one that blinks first, it makes Disney look bad, and you know how they are about that kind of stuff.
That's a good point.
Maybe Josh coming in will be like, no, this is ridiculous. This was a Bob Iger thing. Get rid of it. Move it. But I don't think a week is enough runtime for a thing like this. I think Dune is still going to take a huge chunk of that pie.
Marv, do you think in the next 2 or 3 months we get an announcement about this being a trilogy rather than 2 films, or do you think maybe they're worried enough that they're going to abandon that idea?
I don't think you're going to, because I think if people find out that like, oh, we're not going to get any kind of resolution in this movie, they might just skip it and wait for the other movies to come out, because Marvel is no longer must see. There's no longer an urgency to go out and consume the product. Otherwise you'll have that FOMO.
Oh my gosh. So you're saying, I don't mean to interrupt, but I hadn't thought of this. They could hold, if they want to do a trilogy to try to recoup their costs, because they may not make as much and this costs a lot. They might hold that announcement all the way up until right before the second film comes out and just hold. But for people who don't know, there's an empty, unnamed movie sitting in the holidays in 28.
I think you'll get the announcement of that after Doomsday comes out. It'll be we're going to continue in the next 2 movies.
Wow, yeah. Because I had heard that they intended to put that out there this spring, early summer, to go along with some of the conventions. So this is amazing how things are playing out. Culture, we've never seen Marvel be in a weak spot like this before. Finally, now the hubris has washed off, and they're having to really contend with the other studios. They're no longer head and shoulders above anybody else.
Yeah, I think we saw that this year with the direct competition with Warner Brothers Discovery, despite the mess that they are internally as far as business units. I think with Paramount deciding to enter the conversation in a big way, and now these tech giants rolling in like Amazon, I think that they've been in this position in a long time. The last 5 years of underperformance have really hurt them, not just obviously with Marvel, but with Star Wars. And Disney isn't the leader in the clubhouse anymore. They have genuine competition from people that know what they're doing and have gone back and hired the people that Hollywood canceled in the first place. Disney's foolish, and they ever since they got rid of Lasseter, they have been making unforced error after unforced error with everything that they've done. And I would argue that since Endgame, nothing has performed the way it used to outside of Wolverine and Deadpool's film. Since then, I mean, maybe the Sony product in Spider-Man, but other than that, it's all been downhill from there.
Plus, if it comes out, it does okay, and then it falls off because of Dune. If their response is, well, yeah, but because it somehow, when it goes to Disney Plus, increases subscriptions, except wait, they're not reporting subscriptions anymore, are they? So it's like, we can't say we got it on the back end because we aren't reporting the back end because we're embarrassed by the back end. They have nowhere to run. They have nowhere to go.
That's right. Folks will be watching this. It's a big deal to see Marvel finally being put to heel when it comes to the way they have to act. And this is a total change for Disney versus what they've done and how they've treated theaters in the past. It seems like audiences have taken the whole thing to task, and now Disney's trying to find a way back into the good graces of Americans. And it is time to put a bow on it, for this one, folks, is a gift to everybody who wants to know exactly what's going on in the entertainment industry. And we are so joyful that you were there to receive it. We hope that you had a great time. An attitude of gratitude on this channel every single time you decide to spend time with us. As we get ready to say goodbye, we only ask a few simple things. Click that like button, share, subscribe, click it, and stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. And folks, as you get ready to head out that door, do you have a place on social media that you love to share this sort of thing? Hey, you can make this YouTube video sing by putting it out there for your friends, your family, and for those weirdos who just won't leave you alone. Folks, until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.